أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب قلوب الصادقين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المغصومين. أما بعد، فقال الحسين عليه السلام: وإني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما، وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أريد أن أأمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر وأسير بسيرة جدي وأبي علي عليهما الصلاة والسلام صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have reached the night of the 9th of Muharram, known as Tasu'a. It is one of the saddest nights in the Hijri calendar, other than the night of Ashura. It is no less than the night of Ashura. Yes, the night of Ashura is the night of calamity, the night of martyrdom, the night of the oppression that was, carried out against Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and his beloved household and his disciples. But also the 9th of Muharram, we need to also commemorate it with such sadness, because the heart of Imam Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam is pierced with such grief, and we have to remember him and we have to give him our condolences. The seniors and the scholars, they would always recommend us to take sadaqah out in these nights and in these days for the health and for the blessings of Imam Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam, so that Allah may ease the pressure upon his heart, as he is under so much grief and he is shrouded with sadness. Tonight we would like to discuss the purpose of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, and also the continuation of that purpose, the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, and the continuation of that message. Dear brothers and sisters, for us to understand the continuation of the message, the first and most important question is to ask ourselves, what was that message and what is that message? Once we understand what that message was, then we can look into the narrations, find exactly what the Imams have said about this message, and also we have to look in parity and with parallel to the Holy Quran and see how this message continues, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has says, and also what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and also what the Ahlulbayt alayhimu salatu wasalam have said according to the Quran, according to the Sharia. And to understand exactly what was this message, we have to look in the narrations, and we have to also ask the obvious. When we ask this obvious question, we must ask it to the obvious person, and we ask, who else than Imam Hussain can we ask? Because this message was from him, and he took this stand in Karbala. So of course we need to ask him, "Oh Imam, why did you come out from your home? Why did you stand up against the rulers, against the tyrants of your time? What was your purpose?" And then here we find in the narrations, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is talking to his brother Muhammad bin Hanafiya, and he's giving him advice. He's also giving him his will and the duties that Muhammad had to carry out. And also he's explaining to Muhammad why I am leaving my home, why I am standing up. The narration we read for you, and we had the honor of reading, was from the end of this part when he's in of the conversation with Muhammad bin Hanafiya, and he says, وَإِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشْرَ. I am not coming out of my home. I am not standing up for the sake of evil. Shar, ashra, shar. I'm not coming out for evilness. Wala batira. I'm not coming out for arrogance. Wala mufsida. I'm not coming out for a corrupt need, in corruption. Wala dhalima. I am not coming out to cause oppression or to cause tyranny. Dear brothers and sisters, this part of the narration, we have to open it up. We have to expand it. Why? Because ashran, batiran, mufsidan, dhaliman. These 4 points, the Imam is putting himself away from these 4 characteristics. These 4 characteristics are never close to what the Imam is, because according to our faith, we believe that the Imam is the rightful custodian of the faith. He is the rightful successor of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, the characteristics of an Imam must be that he should not cause shar. He should not cause any form of evil in the society. If he is causing such a form of evilness, then we will not take him as an Imam. We cannot take him as our leader, dear brothers and sisters. Wala batira. In arrogance, the Imam is never going to do anything in a form of arrogance, in a form of pride. So this stand that he took in Karbala is not to show the people that, oh, I am the son of the Prophet, I am the chosen one, I am the special one. You must only follow me. You have to, kiss my hands. You have to, touch my feet. I am the son of the Prophet. I am the son of his daughter. I am the son of Ali. I am the Sayyid Shabab Ahlul Jannah. I am the chief of the youth of the youth of paradise. Therefore, oh, you must come and respect me. No, he did not want to do this as well. An Imam never does anything out of pride, never does anything out of arrogance. So if you see in your society today, someone who is committing in the name of Islam, he's committing such actions, he's acting out amongst the society in the name of Islam, but those actions are causing evilness, they are causing shar. Those actions now are in arrogance. He is demanding people's respect. He is forcing them that, oh people, you must respect me. Why? Because I am such a knowledgeable person. I am an Imam of this nation. I am the Imam of a masjid. I am such a high scholar. Therefore, we cannot take this as our message of Karbala. The other part, wala mufsida, the Imam does not come out in corruption. So when you see mufsideen, the Holy Quran many times talk about these people. And they're the same people who are also the munafiqeen. The munafiqeen are those people who will cause corruption. They will spill certain things inside the hearts of the believers so that they can fight with each other. Now, I was watching a clip where he was talking about the events of Karbala, and he was talking about the message of Karbala. He was talking about that, the reason why Karbala occurred was because the hypocrites of that time, they spilled certain certain poisonous thoughts in the believers' hearts. That's why the two parties fought with each other. Dear brothers and sisters, Imam Hussain fought against Yazid. At that time, we need to analyze who was Imam Hussain, what was his role in the society. Could he have easily been, talked to, or the propaganda could have been so strong that he would have been fooled by the hypocrites' poisonous thoughts? Can Imam Hussain have that quality? No, we do not believe that. The Imam is the Imam. He knows justly what is right and what is wrong, what he should do and what he should not do. He will not fall into this play or into this sort of illegitimate politics. The other thing, another person was saying that this was a battle between the two princes of the time. Hussain was one prince, Yazid was another prince. They both wanted the seat of power. They both wanted to be in the government. They both wanted to have rule, or they wanted to rule over the Muslim empire. Dear brothers and sisters, we cannot take this as our faith. if someone has such beliefs, then we cannot allow that person to teach us even further than that, because his analysis of history and his analysis of the deen is full of fasad, mufsida. Wala zalima. The Imam then says, Wala zalima. I am not coming out to cause oppression. I am not coming out to cause tyranny. We know the most important message of Karbala is standing up against dhulm, standing up against oppression, standing up against the oppressors of the time and the oppressors throughout the time. Nearly all the messages of the prophets, no matter what their message was always to stand up against the tyrant. When we look at Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he stood up against Nebuchadnezzar of his time, the king of Sumeria. When we look at Hazrat Musa, he stood up against Fir'aun. When we look at the Holy Prophet, he had many different people in his time that he stood up against, many different tyrants during Mecca, during Medina as well. When we look at nearly all the other prophets as well, Hazrat Nuh, in his time, he was preaching against the tyrants. He was telling the people, look, beware of these the evilness that the tyrants have, but you should not cause oppression and you should distance yourself from the oppressors. So it's a universal message, even for someone who does not believe in God Almighty, who does not believe in any sort of religion. In his natural state, the instincts inside him will say that I will not want to cause oppression upon someone. This oppression, dear brothers and sisters, we also need to look, it's not only just a large-scale oppression. It's also these minuscule oppressions that day to day we might overlook them. It can go on in our homes, between a husband and a wife and a husband, father and the parents and the children and the parents. It can happen between the neighbors. It can happen at any point in our society. So we have to be wary upon that. Let's actually go deeper. It can happen to ourselves. We as human beings commit oppression upon ourselves every single day. In the Holy Quran, there's a famous dua that the people were saying, Rabbana dhalamna anfusana. Oh Lord, oh our Lord, we have committed oppression upon ourselves. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he speaks very clearly in Dua Kumail, Rabbi dhalamtu nafsi faghfirli. I have committed oppression upon myself, therefore forgive me. Allah, forgive me right now. The oppression upon myself is something when I am not listening to my teachers, I am not listening to my imams, I am not listening to the Holy Prophet, I am not listening to the Quran, I am not listening to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I am not following that faith. Another way is that we are actually not seeking out that knowledge to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us, what their Prophet wanted from us, what the imams want from us, what our imam of our time wants from us as his followers, as his true followers. And we should always make this dua. May Allah hasten his reappearance, and also may Allah make us worthy to be amongst his loyal servants. Recite salawat please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa'ajjil faraja. Then the Imam, what he says? He says, وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ. I am leaving my home, I am making a stand for the sake of reformation in the nation of my Prophet, in the nation of my grandfather, in the ummah of my grandfather, in Islam. Dear brothers and sisters, we have to look at the time when Imam Hussain ﷺ was alive, and when he was given the position of Imam after the martyrdom of Imam Hasan. We have to look at the Muslim Ummah at that time in total, in all of the countries, and we have to see what was being promoted and what was not being promoted. We have to look, there were certain times when people were actually forbidding that which was lawful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made lawful, i.e. halal. The people were making haram of the halal of Allah. They were also doing vice versa. They were making the haram of into a halal. So they were making the halal into a haram, and they were making the haram into a halal. We have to look, and we see many different narrations and historical events where alcohol became open to the public. Yazid himself was a drunkard. It is in the historical books. We cannot deny that. This man used to come onto the pulpit drunk. This man used to come and lead the prayers drunk. Walid, his governor of Medina, used to come drunk in the pulpit. The other governors that they were there in Kufa or in Basra, they were drinking alcohol openly. Everyone knew that these people were drunk. They were always, and they would tell people, bring me more alcohol. They would pay so much money from Baytul Mal, from the treasury, the Ummah treasury, the Islamic treasury, to purchase these things and these illegal things. Now from here we need to look at the holy verse of the Holy Quran, and we're looking at Surah Fatir, verse number 9. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, He says, مَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ الْعِزَّةِ فَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ جَمِيعًا. Whosoever wishes honor and grace, then he should know that فَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ جَمِيعًا. The entire honor and grace only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Hussain is saying, I am not leaving my home for the sake of arrogance, wala batira. I do not want honor. I do not want to grasp or physically go and clutch the cloth of honor. I do not want it. Honor itself comes to Imam Hussain naturally. The Holy Quran is filled with praises for Ahlulbayt alayhi salatu wasalam. You have the ayah of Tathir, you have ayah of Mubahala, which we just witnessed a couple of 1 or 2 weeks ago. We have the verses of Dahr. We have the verses of Wilaya. You have, dear brothers and sisters, we can go on and on and on. The verse of Shahada. Do not say that those people who are killed in the path of Allah are dead, but they are alive. Of course, this means for Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, he laid his life, his blood was spilled for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, Imam is not coming out for purposely seeking that honor. Wala batira, he's not coming out for arrogance as well. So here, if anyone wants izzah, he should know that all of the izzah belongs to Allah. If he wants honor in society, he should follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah then will give him honor. إِلَيْهِ يَصْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, and He says, dear to Allah, that is the acts that are lifted towards Allah, Allah that is very near to Allah. Allah looks at those actions, those thoughts very closely, and He lifts them up. One of the things, kalimut tayyib. The other one is wal amalu salih. Dear brothers and sisters, kalimut tayyib here means the aqaid, means the Islamic beliefs that we have. The mufassirin have given us that kalimut tayyib here is kalima tayyiba. We always recite it, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi aliyan waliyullah. Whoever recites kalima tayyiba, he should know that this is the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has to believe in this first. We know that everything, one of the main messages that encompassed Karbala was everything that has to do with La ilaha illallah. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, he stood on the plains of Karbala. His family, his brothers, his children, his brothers' children, his cousins' children, his disciples, their blood was spilt for the sake of La ilaha illallah. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should accept this sacrifice because La ilaha illallah is being saved. And dear brothers and sisters, when we look at the deeper meaning of La ilaha illallah, we sort of understand that there is a circle that we have drawn in our lives. That circle is the circle of La ilaha illallah. As soon as we say this, we are inside that circle. We cannot live on the boundary of that circle, and we cannot live outside of that circle. We have to abide by the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you look at the sayings of what Yazid quoted when Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam and the caravan of Imam Hussain arrived in Sham, He says Bani Hashim played with the governance. Bani Hashim played with the power. There was no wahi. There was no revelation. This man is denying the revelations. We know anyone who denies revelation is outside of Islam. He is outside of that circle of La ilaha illallah. Therefore, we should not accept this. Anyone who accepts La ilaha illallah, kalimut tayyib, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifts that up. He lifts that person up. One of the most important things, dear brothers and sisters, is that we should be inside the circle of kalimut tayyib. When we are inside the circle of kalimut tayyib, when we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, belief is not only enough. A lot of people now these days are going to say, oh, you know, Malana, Allah only just looks at the heart. Our actions are not important. But dear brothers and sisters, actions speak louder than words. The way you act is the way you believe. I mean, that is the production of your belief. That is the end product of what your belief is. So if you are believing in La ilaha illallah, therefore your actions should also speak La ilaha illallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying, يَسْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ. Then He says, وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ يَرْفَعُهُ. He lifts up those actions that are amalus salih, those actions that are good deeds, that are righteous deeds. Therefore, the righteous deeds are only near and close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through righteous deeds, you will get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dear brothers and sisters, on the day of Karbala, did the people who were against Imam Hussain not say La ilaha illallah? Did they not say Muhammadur Rasulullah? Did they not recite Quran? Shimr of his time, may Allah's curse be upon him. Shimr was one of the most famous reciters of the Quran at that time, most famous Qari. You know, but when we look, what did he do? He was the one who cut the head of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Just by having belief does not mean you are saved. You have to act upon that, because these two actions are part of what faith is. When you look at faith, faith is made up of three things. Aqaid, your beliefs. Ahkam, your actions. The Islamic rulings, which tell us what is halal and what is haram. In the days that Imam Hussain had to stand up and fight against the tyranny and to save the religion of his grandfather, we know there that people were committing haram acts openly. They were committing haram acts like as if they were lawful. They were forbidding the people what was halal. They were forbidding them. Amalus salih, we have to act upon exactly what the Holy Prophet has told us, the ahkam. Thirdly, the most important thing that the religion is made up of is akhlaq, your ethics and morals. These three things, dear brothers and sisters, is all that faith is. This is what Islam is, and this is what the Ahlulbayt were preaching throughout their lives. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum sahil makhrajahum. Dear brothers and sisters, let's come back to the narration of the Imam. The second part, after he says that I'm leaving my home, I'm exiting my home for the islah, for the reformation, for the saving of the religion of my grandfather, he says, Uridu an a'mura bil ma'ruf. I want to encourage the good actions, wa anha anil munkar, and I want to forbid the evil actions. There's a verse in the Holy Quran as well that talks about this. This is one of the core foundations of our religion. Encouraging one another in good acts and forbidding one another in the evil acts. We have to know what the good acts are. Again, I will repeat, we need to enhance our Islamic education and knowledge so that we understand what are the good actions. Therefore, we first enhance it, we first encourage it in ourselves. There is no point in us committing wrongful acts and then we go and tell people, hey, you must not commit dhulm, but we ourselves are a zalim. No. First we must do tabligh for ourselves. And once we know that we are strong enough, then we start doing tabligh to the people who are around us. We help them. We are not forcing them. We're not preaching, we're not forcefully preaching upon them. We are actually encouraging them, motivating them, telling them, come on, it's good to be, you should continue your prayers, you should continue your fasting, you should follow what Imam Hussain said. Imam Hussain said you must do this and do this. Let's do this. Imam said let's not do this, let's not follow that action, let's not follow that person. Imam Hussain has given us the criteria, dear brothers and sisters. If Imam Hussain has given us the criteria, therefore his descendant and his grandson, Imam Zaman ﷺ, is giving us that same criteria. This is the continuation of the message of Karbala. We have to look, and then when we forbid one another from the evil acts, we have to also know what those evil acts are. Here, I would like to just conclude with the verse of Surah Fatir, verse 9, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, وَالَّذِينَ يَمْكُرُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَكْرُ أُولَٰئِكَ هُوَ يَبُورٌ. The people who commit evil acts, لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ, for them is a treacherous and a heavy punishment. They will be punished. Therefore, our actions have to be in accordance to the Sharia. We have to follow, and we have to then encourage the good acts, and we have to also forbid the people from the evil acts. The Imam came out of his home. The Imam left Medina to go to Mecca. Then from Mecca he was supposed to go to Kufa. But we know the story very well. He was stopped in Karbala for the sake of telling the people that stop committing evil acts and stop promoting this. So the people who committed the evil acts on the day of Karbala, lahum adhabun shadid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is punishing them and giving them such a severe punishment. Dear brothers and sisters, one thing we also need to understand, that we cannot pick and choose what our religion has to be and has not to be. Because some people might want to add their own things. As I said, the halal was being turned into haram and the haram was being turned into halal. Also, the actions that they were practicing were not in accordance to what the Holy Prophet and the Imams had. They weren't even in accordance to the Khulafa. If we want to, for argument's sake, for the sake of history, if we want to analyze it, it was not something like that. This is why Imam had to make a stand. And he's going to, according to the Holy Quran, in the verse 33, chapter Surah Ahzab, verse 33, chapter 33, Surah Ahzab, and verse 36. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ. It is not for a faithful man and is not for a faithful woman. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly defining who is a mu'min and who is a mu'minah. The duties that religion require from all of the people are both from male and female. Religion is not just segregated to a specific gender or a specific caste or a specific nation. Religion is for everyone. So here, the true sign of a mu'min and the true sign of a mu'minah is one who does not. وَمَا كَانَ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet have decided on a matter, they have issued a decree, they have given a verdict. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His beloved Prophet have issued a verdict, they have decided on a matter, the faithful man and faithful woman does not, what do they not do? أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. They do not have any say in this decree. They do not have any option in this decree. They don't pick and choose. They don't say, no, I don't want this, I'm only going to take that. I want this, I'm not going to take that. No, let's cancel this out of the religion and let's add this into the religion. At that time, this is what was going on. This is why the true signs of the mu'min and the mu'minah were such that they stood against this. They prevented the people from picking and choosing their religion, multiplying, subtracting, dividing the religion as they pleased. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, it is not the sign of a woman and of a believing woman and a believing man. They do not do this. They do not poke their nose in the decrees of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do not pick and choose the verdicts that Allah and His Prophet have given for us. وَمَنْ يَعْصِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا مُبِينًا. And whosoever disobeys Allah and His Prophet has certainly strayed into such an error, and in ضَلَالًا مُبِينًا here is in such disarray and in such misguidance that is the manifestation of misguidance. Every day we ask ourselves, and every day we pray for guidance in our prayers, in salah. Every day we say, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. Oh Allah, give us guidance, the same guidance that you had blessed upon those people. أنعمت عليهم here, the Mufassirin are referencing to Ahlulbayt alayhim salatu wasalam. Then we say, Allah, forbid us from غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. We do not want, forbid us from that path, protect us from that path, that your anger is upon those مَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. And they are misguided, and they also are the ones who misguide people. So the misguided are the ones who are picking and choosing their religion. We do not have any say in this. Whatever has come down in revelation is what we are supposed to follow. The Imams also followed that 100%. And this is the continuation of the message of Karbala, one of the dimensions. You know, Karbala has so many different dimensions. And when we look at the main messages is standing up against the tyrant of your time, standing up even against the oppression, as I said, even the little oppressions that you find in the day-to-day society and in your lifestyle. Secondly, we want to look at encouraging good acts, and we want to forbid people from the negative and illegal acts that Islam itself has given us. We need to understand which are those acts. We have to educate ourselves. A lot of the people were not well educated at that time, which is the reason why they fell into the hands and the traps and the propaganda that Ibn Ziyad and Yazid were giving out to the people. This is why they stood against Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain on the day of Ashura, and even before that, he was telling the people, do you not know who I am? You know, tomorrow he was trying to show them that they should not have an excuse tomorrow that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we did not know who he was and we just killed him. The Imam is telling them, I am the Imam upon you. I know the religion of the Prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this religion to the Prophet. The Prophet has said, I am Sayyid Shababi Ahlil Jannah. So therefore you must follow me. I know the Quran and the Sunnah better than anyone else. The last part in the narration that the Imam says, وَأُرِيدُ أَنْ أُسِيرَ أَنْ أَسِيرَ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَأَبِي عَلِي ibn Abi Talib. Very important here. I want to live a lifestyle in accordance to the lifestyle and the preachings and the practicing of my grandfather and my father Ali. This is the most important thing that we need to understand here. That in religion, when we want to try and mimic some people, when we want to look at role models, when we want to look at people who we can seek motivation from, the leaders in society, motivational speakers, influencers, the true influencers, dear brothers and sisters, are the Holy Prophet and his holy progeny. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam sahil makhrajam. The seerah, the lifestyle, the sunnah of the Holy Prophet and how he lived. Because the same way how he lived, he taught his beloved Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. And Imam Ali says that I learned everything from the Holy Prophet and I'm following everything from the Holy Prophet. I do not add anything extra and I do not subtract anything from it. The same thing Imam Hasan alayhi salatu wasalam did. The same thing Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam did. Now when we want to look at what the Imams also, the other Imams after Karbala, what they did as well. They emphasized on education. Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam, when he returned from Sham with the caravan to Medina, one of the major things that he did was he would purchase slaves, he would set them free. It's a very important act. He would purchase the slaves and set them free. And he would keep them in his house as his guests and he would train them and teach them. And he would take them to such a level that they would be his loyal wakils. They would be his loyal governors. They would be his loyal ambassadors to all of the parts of the Islamic world. He would send them out. Imam Sajjad would send them out. And how blessed were those people to have been given the direct guidance from the Imam, one-to-one lessons. Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq alayhim as-salam, they did what had to be done at that time because they saw an advantage that there was a power struggle between Bani Abbas and Bani Umayyah, which allowed them to start teaching openly because before the teaching of the right faith was forbidden in public. The Imams used to teach privately. Now Imam Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq, they opened up the university to the public. Imam Sadiq in his time, alayhi salatu wasalam, had over 10,000 students. Imam al-Kadhim, Imam al-Radha, Imam al-Jawad, Imam al-Hadi, all of these Imams, they emphasized on education, teaching the Shia, and also giving them the right knowledge and the right, equipping them so that they can be strong enough to decide who do they stand against. That are they standing against the correct enemies that the Imams are telling, or God forbid, they are standing against the Imams. Many a times you find that the people stood against the Imams. Why? Even though they were students of the Imams, they stood against the Imams because they did not seek that higher level of understanding from heart and mind. They did not want to follow the seerah. They did not want to go through the process of cleansing themselves from arrogance, from oppression, from shar, from evilness. The other thing that the Imams also did was to continue this aza. The Imams would always continue the aza, the majlis. This is the way that would help reignite the flame in the hearts of the mu'mineen so that they can remember the true message of Karbala. Because when we listen to the majalis, we understand what happened. Who was standing on Imam Husayn's side and who was standing against Imam Husayn. This helps us identify today in our day and age, in our personal lives and in our social lives, where do we stand so that tomorrow when we are at the service of the Imam, inshallah, we are not actually giving a disservice to him. We are not standing against him. Because God forbid it could happen if we do not prepare ourselves first and foremost. The other thing is that we need to always follow the seerah of the Prophet and the Imams. This is what the Imam has concluded for us. And when he says the seerah of Jaddi, here we remember tonight, the night of the 9th, we want to talk about Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salatu wassalam. This young man, the son of Imam Hussain, Imam Hussain loved him so much that even in the ziyarah when we say, As-salamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn, here we're talking about Ali al-Akbar alayhi salatu wasalam, wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn alayhi salatu wasalam. Ali Akbar alayhi salam, when he walked in such a way that even it was very famous at that time, dear brothers and sisters. We know that he resembled the Prophet so much. There was no one at that time alive who resembled the Prophet in physical resemblance and also in character. Khalqan wa khulqan. So in physical resemblance, he was a dado copy to the Holy Prophet. In character, in seerah, in ethics, in morality, in religious practicing, he was just like the Holy Prophet. This man, who the Holy Imam loved so much. And when we want to understand how much this love was, a person asked Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, what is the most dearest moment in a father's life? The Imam says the most dearest moment is when the father sees his young, graceful, strong son walking in front of him and is present in front of him. This sight quenches the eyes of the father. And then the Imam says the saddest moment of that father's time is when his son is lying dead in front of him. Dear brothers and sisters, on the day of Ashura, mashallah, you have grown up listening to the majalis. I will not want to take too much of your time now. Imam bids farewell to Hazrat Ali Akbar. Hazrat Ali Akbar bids farewell to his father. Imam sent him out first amongst the Bani Hashim to show the people that I'm not showing any favoritism. I'm sending out my beloved. And when he went out to face the enemy, he fought like such a ferocious lion. Why? Because he's the grandson of Haidar. But we know what happened here, brothers and sisters. The enemies knew that they could not attack him one by one. Therefore, they ordered that encircle him and attack him all in once. When they started attacking him all in once, they threw their swords, their spears, their daggers, their arrows, everything at this precious young man who looked exactly like the Prophet. So we can say they actually were killing the Prophet at that time in Karbala. Until such an evil person committed such an atrocious blow that it pierced the heart of Hazrat Ali Akbar. And at that very moment, he fell upon his horse. And when he fell upon the horses were trained at that time that when the rider would wrap his hands around the neck of the horse would find his way back to the tents. What happened at that time, Ali Akbar wrapped his hands around the horse, but his blood flowed on the horse's eyes. The horse could not see, and then in the end, the horse is actually going more and more into the wolves, deeper into the enemy's territory. And they started attacking him until he collapsed from the horse. And he cries out, "Oh, my father, come to my aid. Wa alayka salam ya abi." At that very moment, Imam Hussain gets on his horse and he rides, and they narrate that he attacked them so ferociously that it was like a hungry and angry and ferocious lion. He scattered them, and finally he comes to his dear beloved's body. He carries his son's body in his hands. Still his heart does not feel right. He holds his beloved against his chest. Still it does not give satisfaction. He puts his face against the face of Ali Akbar and he's crying, "Ya waladi, ya bunayya, ya Ali, oh my son Ali, oh my son Ali." Then he looks to the tents of Bani Hashim and he says, "Oh, the youth of Bani Hashim, come and help Hussain to carry the body of Ali Akbar." Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Dear brothers and sisters, with your tears flowing from your eyes, let's remember the Imam of our time. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyyika al-Hujjah ibn al-Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala aba'i في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا اللهم تقبل منا اللهم ارزقنا شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود اللهم ارزقنا زيارة الحسين اللهم احشرنا مع الحسين في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من خير أعواني وانصاري والمستشهدين بين يديه وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه